Next, we'll have Representative Caldwell. He's got House Resolution 1345, looking at Georgia craft breweries and distillery competitiveness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Y'all forgot to save the best for last. You're just stuck with me, so we'll try.
Oh, we have one more. We've got.
Oh, okay,
Miss
good. You did
Rakestraw
save the best
here.
for last.
We save the best for last. Our committee members.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I bring to you House Resolution 1345. Just for safety's sake, I'm working off of LC 362963. I'm bringing you a bit of an anomaly today. I have a study committee resolution with 91 House members co-sponsoring. So I'm actually going to show it off because it's probably the last time I'll ever have something that we can get a majority of the House to co-sponsor. I will drop the note that 14 of the 22 members of the Special Rules Committee are co-sponsoring this resolution. So to those of you who are co-sponsoring with me, thank you. To those of you who aren't, I want to tell you a little bit about what it is, and maybe you'll jump down to the clerk's office and join me on this ride. Talk to you a little bit about the problem that we're looking to go study and fix here, and I'm going to be really brief because I recognize it's gap day and I'm between you guys in your cars probably. So we are one of two states in the union that does not allow breweries to sell beer out of the brewery. Aside from that, breweries on average in this state are 2.5 times less profitable than breweries in sister states. If you take sister states with similar drinking age population and compare out, on average, we should have about 14,000 direct microbrewery jobs in this state. We have 1,300. That's a delta of 12,700 for those who don't want to do the math. I took the calculator out and checked it, so you can trust me. We're clearly missing something here. Now, the reason I want to do a study committee here, I hope that with each of you, as I've gotten to know you, I've developed a reputation being data-driven. I want to make sure that when we go about this, we do it the right way, the smart way. We have a 3-tiered system in this state. We are not unique in that. The majority of states have a 3-tiered system. To me, the problem is likely not the 3-tiered system, considering the majority of states have them, and yet they seem to have fixed these problems. In the last 2 years, you've had large-scale reforms happening with these laws in both South Carolina and Alabama, both sister states. Every state that borders us allows for beer to be sold out of breweries, but also has differing laws depending on which facet of this law we're looking at. So rather than jumping in and diving in with a large-scale reform package, I want to make sure that we study this and do this smart. The beauty with this issue, when 48 other states have jumped into this first, we have the opportunity to go look at what has worked and what hasn't worked. So this is, to me, the very definition of what a study committee is for, is to make sure that we go look at what other states are doing, study sister states. And so if you read the language of the resolution, what I'm actually asking for is a study committee, not necessarily to study beer law in general or study distillery law in general, but to study what sister states have done to become more competitive. To break those numbers down for you one more time, that 12,700 jobs that we're missing out on represents roughly 1/3 of a percentage point of the unemployment rate in this state. So if we were to get this right, and we do it right the first time, then we could do this all in one bill. We could set it up so that we could actually shave our unemployment rate down from 5.6 to 5.3%. Now, if every single study committee that came before you offered 1/3 of a percentage point off the unemployment rate, I bet we'd all get a lot more excited about study committees. So my ask to the committee would be, understanding it will not happen today, but would be that you would eventually look favorably on the idea of setting up a committee of 5 members to go study this issue, see how we attack it in a way that makes sense, preserves the integrity of the 3-tier system, preserves and protects all of the retailers, the distributors, and the brewers and distillers, so that we make sure that we're protecting all of our business owners in this state, incentivizing business growth in one of the fastest growing industries in the country. And I did that without notes. So be happy to answer any questions you guys may have. Again, this is something I get awfully passionate about, but I think it's something that could really benefit some small business owners in this state and incentivize more to come from around the country. We're the #1 state to do business, unless this happens to be your business, in which case we're trailing. So let's figure out how we make every industry #1.
Thank you, Representative Caldwell. I'll just start off with one. We've got the number of flashing lights here, but have there been discussions? I mean, I know this is kind of like a silo business between craft brewers and those in the distributor thing, and identified barriers that are out there that.
Absolutely, and it's part of what's interesting about this issue, right? Is when you talk to distributors, you talk to the retailers, you talk to the brewers, you talk to the distillers, you get different angles and different perspectives. And it's interesting too. A lot of you know I travel for a living. I was on 142 planes last year, so I get the added benefit of not just talking to brewers and distillers and distributors in this state, but I go talk to them in other states too, because I'm the nerd who continues to study policy even when I'm not down here. So I go sit around the country talking to these people too, and it's interesting to see how different the perspectives are in surrounding states too, where the laws are different. That's part of why I think this is so important. Is yes, those conversations happen. As far as I know, sometimes agreements are found, sometimes they're not. It's why I think as legislators, it's important that we sort of step out, take a fresh perspective on this, sit down, have everybody come to the table. Let's have a conversation. Let's just study this in a real official fashion, as opposed to the chicken with a head cut off route that so often we as legislators take. I know I do it often, where I just kind of run around and talk to everybody. I'd really like to, let's add some formality to this, really study the issue, get to know it well, and make sure that before we do anything, we're doing it with a wise approach.
And you were also nice, you didn't mention I think you sent me an email and some others on what happened in Athens this past weekend.
Yeah, and it's another very interesting point. You have municipalities now talking about whether or not to cite breweries based on where their local ordinances and our state laws conflict, and so we're running into really interesting governmental local control issues, along with whether or not our laws make any sense compared to sister states. I'm sure there are some things we're getting right that sister states have gotten wrong, and that's why I think it's so important that we study this before we jump in with an actual legal change. So thank you for that. I think that's an important point.
Thank you, Representative. We have questions from the committee. Representative Rakestraw, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to make a comment that I think that this is definitely much needed because of surrounding states doing this. I have a constituent that actually has a brewery that's doing really well near the Alabama state line, and he said that, you know, he could move it over the line and make a lot more money and be a lot more competitive. And, you know, me being the job lover that I am, you know, I think we need to do everything to keep those jobs and those opportunities in our state. And, you know, and so I very much support this, but I think we also need to look at, you know, of what we can do to be competitive with surrounding states so that they don't go across state lines with their viable businesses.
Thank you for that, Madam Vice Chairman. I'll tell you, I know more than one Georgian who owns breweries outside of this state, and it's for exactly that reason. And I know of several breweries who are being courted to leave the state, and that's a whole new, different question that spooks me. So, thank you.
Representative Dominic LaRicca.
Chairman, I'm one of the representatives up here that has probably developed a little bit of a reputation to being very, very, very cautious and concerned about access to alcohol by people underage and people of age. The numbers on what alcohol does to communities and society are absolutely rock solid. And it's hard for me to hear somebody brag about us being the #1 state in the nation to do business and use the mathematics of the fact that we're only one of 2 states in the nation that does not do this. Those two don't go together. Perhaps we're the #1 state in the nation to do business is because we don't follow the example of the other 48. I am glad that you're doing this through a study committee type of a pathway, because I think you'll be able to hear some of maybe what would be my side of the right. Stories. And but no, I certainly respect you and trust your leadership in this, but I just wanted to kind of get that on the record.
No, thank you for that, Representative. And thank you. I think you drove home the point that I was going to make at the end there, and that's it. Plainly, you may very well be right. I may have the issue totally upside down in my head, and we may want to stick to it and run with it and then go start talking sister states into the sense of it. The only way we find that out is through a study committee. So I want to make sure we study this, understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that there's logic behind what we're doing, not just tradition behind it. Thank you.
Next will be Representative Jason Spencer.
Just more of a comment, Mr. Chairman. About 3 years ago, I put in a bill that, for the first time in Georgia, legalized homebrew competitions.
Thank you for that.
And the reason for that is because I recognize what significant economic impact that this industry would put on the state of Georgia. And many of these craft brewers get their start as home brewers. And so I recognize that, and that it was a significant change, one of the significant changes in our beer laws and our alcohol laws. I have many constituents who homebrew in Camden County, which borders Florida. They go over across the line. They participate in these competitions. They participate in the craft brew industry across the state lines. And this is economic activity that we are losing. And I appreciate your bringing this bill. And I hope we can get to the bottom of this and free the beer. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Representative. And that's a point that I think is important to make is craft beer is coming into Georgia. This likely doesn't increase or decrease the amount of beer consumed in Georgia. The question is whether or not we want to actually take part in the economic activity that goes along with making it. And I think it's important to, and the answer may be yes or no. I think it's important to study.
Anyone else? Yep, here's one popped up. Number 9 right here. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you as well for you bringing this study committee from someone who is not a beer drinker, but understanding the commerce and the business opportunity and just understanding that we could create another viable business with some responsibility attached to it. So I'm encouraged and just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for that.
And a lot of people that I know that do enjoy a good brew or whatever y'all call beer, appreciate that as well.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Representative. No other questions from the committee? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really
appreciate your
it.
passion.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.